What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another All 22 video. And today, we're diving into this Lions-Saints game. It's our final look at this Lions-Saints game. And today, I tried to take less clips that we had from Monday and focus on different plays that we didn't specifically point out in Monday's takeaway video. Also, I have some new takeaways. Like, certain players stand out when you watch the All 22 that you can't really tell when you're just watching the broadcast version back because you can't really see the back end. So, I have some new takeaways, guys, that stood out to me that I wanted to show some love to today. Also, some things that popped up is like, okay, that's a little bit concerning. And we'll bounce around between offense and defense. I don't have a ton of clips here today. We should get through this a little bit faster, but there's just a lot of things specifically, a lot of players individually that I want to talk about. So I think this is the best way to do it because I can also show a couple of plays that stood out to me from this game. So with all that being said, let's recap. Let's finish up this Lions-Saints game. Let's get right into it. We're going to start with an offensive touchdown. Now, this was a play where, schematically in this game, first off, I thought Ben Johnson had to get real creative rushing the football. I thought he had to really get in his, bag in terms of finding run plays that were going to be successful against this defense. Plus, we lost Frank Ragnow, which was really difficult, so that did not help. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But offensively here, man, we had some really well drawn-up plays. Now, we also had situations where it felt like maybe the Lions didn't have the best answer for what they were doing defensively. But, of course, we had the big shot play to Sam LaPorta, which I did not show today because we talked about that on Monday and the cover 3 look that they gave us and how we were able to hit that shot. We do have a different one in here that we'll take a look at, but this was a beautiful setup by the Lions here, and it usually comes back to utilizing the motion, and this is a great example of that. So we get that fast motion across here from Sam LaPorta on the play, and they're going to go into what looks like a cover 3 defense here within the red zone. So here would be your slot cornerback kind of playing on that outside zone, and then here you would have your deep third essentially. All the route detail and timing is usually what this all seems to come back to. And this is another example of that being on point and allowing this thing to happen. So watch what takes place here. So first off, the focus has to be on Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds is going to run kind of a clear out route in a sense here, right? He's going to run this deep post into the back of the end zone. Notice he's going to take this outside underneath zone cornerback with him. He's going to carry him up to the end zone. So watch it right here. So he carries him vertically. Now, when you run cover 3, as we know, it's a balanced coverage. So a lot of times defenses will have to shift to accommodate for an extra player on that side of the field. So you can see how the linebacker opens up to that side. You get kind of one-on-ones on the backside. So they have to shift a little bit. And to me, the key here becomes that fast motion with Sam LaPorta, because when they utilize that, all of a sudden it sets up the timing. Notice how St. Brown doesn't immediately get off the line of scrimmage here. So when he pushes vertical, he's going to pull this outside corner because we don't give them an immediate threat. Also, Sam LaPorta is now going to start working upfield on the play. So now, as this is the outside zone defender, it's now passed off to Demario Davis, who's underneath here in zone coverage as well. But he's unable to drop and get depth because now you sync up Sam LaPorta, who's in this fast motion but going to release upfield and then break back inside. He sets it up with St. Brown, who's just going to run right in front of this linebacker and sit down and hold Demario Davis underneath here. And that clears up the space for Sam LaPorta to open himself up. Also, the route running here was great by Sam LaPorta. I think, the way that he attacks the outside first on the play after Josh Reynolds has already taken off and taken that outside corner. Then at the same time, the eye discipline to kind of slow himself down, hold that outside corner, break back inside. But the timing with when Josh Reynolds breaks is also the same time as Sam LaPorta. Sit down with St. Brown. All of a sudden, you open this gap, and you just have a good window for Goff to put that pass in there and score a touchdown. I mean, again, just utilizing the motion, the timing of the routes, beautiful throw, beautiful catch, touchdown Lions. This thing is just beautiful to look at. When we talk about players individually in this one guy we always seem to have to point out is Brian Branch. And what I'll say about this is, man, he is so good against the run that it's like, to a point, you almost have to be aware of where he's at when you're asking receivers to block him, because he's usually going to get by that receiver, and if you're trying to get to the outside, he's probably going to shut down the run. And that's what it felt like in this game. It was like, hey man, you got to be aware of where you're running the football because Brian Branch is going to make a play. Now this one isn't specifically Branch making the play, but I do love how he's able to keep outside contained here. However, it's more so Aiden Hutchinson. Now this is something, watching it back, that I realized Lions were doing a lot in this game, was slanting their defensive linemen. So that's where this gets set up for Hutchinson. We saw it later for Josh Pascal. They slant on the front side here, boom, just like that. And then a guy like Brian Branch has to be able to get on the outside and keep that contained. He keeps himself clean right there, and he forces this thing back inside. But on top of doing that, Aiden Hutchinson with the inside slant beats the right tackle immediately. Now it's like, okay, now I got to bounce outside that gap. Well, Branch held the outside, and then fast read and react here from Jack Campbell doesn't allow himself to get blocked, and he just flies down, shoots down, and makes this tackle for loss with Aiden Hutchinson. That was a heck of a play by the defense there. Talk about another defensive back helping us against the run. And coming into this game, we knew that defensive back run support was going to be crucial. It was in our pregame show. It was one of like the 4 or 5 notes that we had for like, okay, what needs to happen. Defensive back run support was something to watch, and it was really good for most of the game. We had a couple of times where we allowed things to get outside and we lost them contained. It led to some, like 9-yard chunks instead of maybe limiting them. That would have been ideal. However, the run support from a guy like Tracy Walker, watching this game back, I think this was absolutely one of Tracy Walker's best games this season, maybe his best game this season. I thought he was dynamic. He was all over the field against the run, and he was on point in coverage. He adapted in coverage after getting beat one time. Like, the guy was money in this game all over the place, and this would be a beautiful, he looks like a linebacker here. Watch Tracy Walker. So Lions, of course, a little bit aggressive, putting a safety in the box against this New Orleans team a lot in this game. Of course, when Taysom Hill came in, they always did that, but watch Tracy Walker here. So they're going to shoot up the gap Malcolm Rodriguez. Then you're going to have Jack Campbell. Now, they're going to be running a counter play here. So they're running this counter zone run towards the outside. So you notice Josh Pascal, he's going to press the line of scrimmage, and then he's going to try to jump back outside. Now, one area where I think Jack Campbell's been a little inconsistent, I love the way that he was reading the run in this game, but specifically that hand placement, being able to stack and shed these linemen. I mean, you don't get a ton of guys that come out of the draft built to do that. Jack Campbell, he doesn't have the best length, but he's just, I think, been inconsistent on the point of attack at times, dealing with offensive linemen, and he gets sealed up more than I would like to see. So I think that's an area that he's continuing to probably just work to improve. I love the way that he was reading it, but I'd like to see that get more consistent. Work him outside a little bit further, which does help us a little bit, being able to kind of read that and not get completely flat line, and then all of a sudden it's an easy kind of straight line for him, because as you notice, they're able to get up and seal Jack Campbell here a little bit at the second level. This left tackle is able to step in front and seal Jack Campbell. So if Josh Pascal does not force this thing to bend out at all, this could have been an easier hit for them. But Tracy Walker, and you can see the awareness there, you can see the communication when he reads that this is a counter play right there. He's communicating, Jack Campbell go that way, and then he dives, scrapes on the play, and he's just running this thing down. Plus, on top of that, DB run support. Here's Brian Branch. Beats Olave on the play, shut that down, 2-yard gain. Tracy Walker and also Brian Branch getting in on that tackle. Now, this is something that we've had issues with in the past, more so I think than anything, but we've had issues with this. Obviously, we've had struggles dealing with rushing quarterbacks. It's different with Taysom Hill because when he comes into the game, it's almost like running a wildcat because you pretty much know he's going to run the football. So it just gives him extra body against the run. And the Lions are able to naturally be very aggressive because there's not much of a passing threat. He did throw the ball one time, but there's just not much of a threat there. So it's a little bit different. It's going to be hard to give looks like this against Chicago, where you put your single eye safety is almost in the box like a linebacker. It's going to be difficult to do things like that because now you have to worry about getting attacked over top. However, here we do get that zone read look. Another guy that I thought had a pretty strong game was Romeo Okwara. So another good example of the defensive back run support that we had in this game because we were asking them to, but also Jack Campbell here on this zone read. So the quarterback's going to pull it down. He's going to keep it. He's going to try to work outside. You can see Romeo crashes down. Then he's going to try to work outside and not allow this thing to get upfield. But two things work well here. Number one, Cam Sutton on the outside. His run support's been on point all year. Here he is, disciplined, stays outside of the receiver, right? Doesn't follow him inside. Also, on top of that, there's really nowhere to go because Jack Campbell. So when Malcolm shoots up the gap, watch Jack Campbell here. I mean, there's a little bit of a delay, but it's pretty on point here with the pull down by the quarterback to read it, scrape towards the outside, and then get in a position where he can't really work his way upfield. Also, you can throw Kirby into that mix as well because if you notice Kirby Joseph here, the safety's played pretty disciplined in this one. So as the tight end tries to go up to the second level, kind of seal it off, he steps in front, dives down. Now you got Jack Campbell chasing, and then Cam Sutton wins on the edge, and you shut down that zone read run. As it got going, the zone read run, we started to kind of take it away from Taysom Hill. Now they had success with power run plays, so there were some interior issues that we had at times, but the zone read runs, we did pretty well of kind of locking up after the beginning of the game. Now this would be a little bit of something I think that's a cause for concern. Now, to their credit, a guy like Malcolm Roach is a very good interior defensive lineman against the run. He's over here on Jonah Jackson at this 2-eye, but the concern I think to this is that Jonah Jackson had a pretty good amount of missed blocks in this game. Not just pass pro, obviously he had a couple in there, but more so run blocking. That was kind of a concern. A lot of this outside zone rushing, you had examples like this. And that led to a little bit of an issue, minimizing some of the run attempts. I like Jonah Jackson. I'm really glad that he's back because he's going to help us a lot. But it is something to keep an eye on, right? I don't love that interior defensive line for Chicago either. However, with the weather conditions, we'll probably want to lean into that. We need those guys to be money. I didn't think this was Jonah Jackson's best game. But he also was just coming back, so I guess that's, something to keep in mind. Now, again, this was another really nice design, but I got to give credit across the board for the offensive line handling business well. Colby Sorcel did not have the best day, but he had flashes. This would be a good example of it. Here working at right guard. Watch Colby Sorsel first on this play. He's working against the rookie, Brian Brzee here. But watch how he handles business. You can see the balance here by Colby Sorsel is what stands out to me, because as that defensive tackle shoots inside the back outside, he's able to keep balance without getting hand contact, and he's able to stay in front of the defensive tackle and pass protect there. That was massive because this is a third down situation. Now, last on Monday, we took a look at the pick play and how they shut it down with their edge defenders. But this one, the Lions' first option was taken away because of what they did here. Tyrann Mathieu rolling into the box, kind of going to act like a linebacker. They're going to play cover one, but he's going to be your underneath zone defender. So, if you notice, the first thing that the Lions try to hook up is the fast motion, the short motion, I should say, by St. Brown on this play, where we usually drag him across the middle, but in this case, he would probably drag right into the linebacker. So instead, they break it back outside. But because they have the underneath linebacker, now the cornerback sits outside, doesn't shoot and chase inside, and allow this kind of almost like a whip route to open up, or this little out route that they're trying to create based on the motion. So that's taken away. But what it also does is it takes away that inside zone linebacker, or Tyrann Mathieu in this play, because he's watching the motion. They've all seen it on film, so the Lions try to give him something different. He's not dragging, he's working back. Goff's looking that way, so the linebacker's focused on that. So here becomes the key. And to me, this is where Sam LaPorta, obviously, this was a statistical breakout game, but we did a show on Bleacher Report. I think it was it this week or last week? I think it was this week. You can go check it out over there as a replay. And we talked about could Sam LaPorta be the best rookie tight end ever, right? Where does he rank amongst NFL tight ends? And the stats are fantastic. A couple things stand out. First off, he doesn't really have games where he's not effective. He's pretty much effective in every single game. He's one of the best big play tight ends in NFL, like in terms of rankings, 20-plus yards, 30-plus yards, 40-plus yards. He's top of all of those lists, essentially. He's been incredible this year. Contested catch rate, 67%. You talk about, whatever you want to look at, he's been great for the Lions. And then also 6 broken tackles, which I think is third in the league. Now, some of the yards after catch hasn't always been there, but again, a lot of that can come back to route tree. But this game, it was there. But I think the key is this up, because I know I talked about this in the offseason, that the Lions, again, finding guys that they can feel like can beat man coverage. That's where I thought Sam LaPorta could separate himself. I was so hyped about Sam LaPorta, and I was just like, I get it, rookie tight ends usually aren't that impactful, but I think this guy will be impactful. I can remember I had a fantasy guy, we talked in the offseason, and he was asking me about LaPorta. I was like, yo, LaPorta, I think he's going to cook. I understand rookie tight ends usually don't, but I think he's going to cook, because the Lions needed someone that could beat man. Now, the reality is, we've seen it this season, and sometimes people get upset about it, but I think it's a good thing, is that certain games, certain guys don't get going. But that's okay, because you look at this team, right? So what we notice about this play, let's focus on this. Look at their cornerbacks, okay? I don't even know how to say my man's name. Yadam, I think that's how you say his name. He's kind of like their nickel corner that plays on the outside when you go through receivers like this. Then they put Alontae Taylor in the slot, and of course they also have Paulson Adebo. Now they also don't have, their top cornerback essentially in Marshawn Lattimore, but those 3 corners are really good. Really good. So kind of like when we played Atlanta and AJ Terrell kind of took Josh Reynolds out of the game. It's like, okay, we'll just go elsewhere. That's what this one felt like in terms of they got really good players on the perimeter. But do they have an answer for the tight end? And I messed up. I should have looked out for this more. I missed this on the prop bets. But the reality was I don't think they had a good answer. They had a Marcus May that did not play. And because of that, you had a rookie safety in certain situations that was trying to match Sam LaPorta. And it just did not seem like they had a good matchup for it, because here Tyrann Mathieu is in the box. And this is where he came through, and it's where we needed him to come through coming into the year. We need another guy that can beat man coverage. And he's been able to be a piece where certain games may not be his game, but teams that don't have a matchup for that, in a perfect scenario, you have matchups for that not every defense is going to be able to match up with everything. And in this case, they didn't really have that for the tight end. So here, while they take away that first read, what they want to set up, pass protection becomes massive, because if you don't block, this thing's sacked and you got no chance to have this happen. But on a third down situation, Sam LaPorta wins this one-on-one. Bam, there's the dig route, separates at the top. That was that was one of Goff's better throws in this game. They pick up the first down, they move the chains. So it was just cool to see that kind of come to life specifically in this game. We did show this one on Monday, so I won't spend a lot of time here, but I think it looks cool with the kind of all 22 view. This cover 3 look, again, defensively here. They're going to roll down Tyrann Mathieu. Goff's going to hold that direction, try to hold the safety a little bit on display. They run the drag route to pull down that underneath linebacker. Then you go vertical and you run it basically like a post on this play, kind of like a dig a little bit with St. Brown. You're going to isolate him one-on-one with the single high safety. Jameson Williams, vertical threat. Hey, if he slides down, okay, we'll go over top. But with the timing of the route, it almost is more so set up to get the one-on-one with St. Brown than anything, because we're going to have Jameson Williams break vertically before we run the dig route. So it's almost like, let's set up the timing so that we can get this isolated one-on-one with St. Brown. So again, finding that matchup, and St. Brown has shown us the ability to win on the outside. Even though he's in a slot alignment, he's been able to win in the inside. But I think the key here is this, the route detail again. All right, you just watch the timing of this route. Right, look at first off, the route is beautiful by St. Brown, but when he breaks this is one of the more anticipation heavy throws that Goff made in this game. When he's letting this thing go, St. Brown has not broke his route yet, but yet the detail of the route to make sure that he hits his landmark, breaks it inside, it's all on point, and this thing barely drops in there. Now, one thing I will say about Goff in this game, while I loved what he did off schedule, I love the protecting of the football, but also being able to make plays, give guys opportunities, whether it was LaPorta, Montgomery, even if it didn't happen, I loved it. There was one example where he missed a running back that was uncovered. That's okay, it was incomplete to St. Brown, but it was more so about there was a couple plays like that where I thought he fell away a little bit from the throw against man coverage, like St. Brown, even the 2-point conversion where it was there, but he fell away maybe a little bit from the throw, maybe didn't step into it or put enough juice on the football, and he just allowed the defender to kind of get his hands into it. It still would have had an opportunity, but with good coverage, they were able to break it up. That would be the one knock that I had from Goff in this one. Themselves into too many third and longs, but some of that was, some of that was like, okay, they shut down a screen, or maybe it was a bad run on first down, or we had a false start, which wasn't great. Now, this is where I thought, example, obviously, we had some creative plays like this, but I thought Ben Johnson had to get creative. He had to find ways to create openings through their linebackers, find a way to get these linebackers to bite on something, because the typical counter plays did not seem to be doing anything. They weren't biting on anything. They were biting on where the offensive lineman movement was going. So Ben Johnson started pulling offensive linemen and using that as a setup. So when the offensive lineman pulls, linebackers bite. Now they tie the play fake. And of course, this is where you get the end around set up. But it's beyond just a typical end around where you get the run fake handoff. You pull the offensive lineman, you get Sam LaPorta going that direction too. Then you have him stop, turn around, hook back upfield. Now all of a sudden, Taylor Decker, who shows that he's crashing down this line of scrimmage, is going to be able to shoot into the second level. Crash, shoot up to the second level here. Now you have LaPorta and Decker. Now there was a miscommunication here with who's going to pick up this block. Seemingly, like LaPorta stepped back to try to pick up this defender. Taylor Decker kind of let it go, almost like let Sam LaPorta have it, and then nobody blocked him. So you got 9 yards instead of what probably should have been maybe a touchdown. But the play design was good, and he had to get creative to open up some run plays. Didn't show the play, but there was a sequence that I wanted to point out. We showed on Monday the screen where Gibbs was kind of thrown off with the timing. Pass was incomplete. They went Tampa 2 defensively. What I liked about that was back-to-back series of getting Tampa 2 on like a second and long situation. First time we had LaPorta, we cleared out, we went underneath. Then he came back, said, okay, we understand what they're going to do. Now we're going to run this screen. It didn't happen, but it would have had a really good opportunity to potentially get a first down. So back-to-back times again, they had answers for the situation, second and long. They had an ability to make that third and short. It's just we didn't connect on the second one. Now, this is kind of like the what the heck just happened here. I just want to show this because I think I know what was going on. I think our red zone offense has really improved. Now, of course, we had that stop in this game where we had a 3rd and 5, tried to run it, picked up 1 yard, we lost the block, and you end up kicking a field goal. We go into half 24-7. But this was a pretty good, I think, opening. So we talked about the cover 3 route that the Lions had. The play before, they went into quarters coverage, and the Lions, they try to set up kind of a high-low. Goff didn't like it, so he gets out of the pocket. All of a sudden, on the backside, you kind of try to throw a little pass there to St. Brown. Had an opportunity, just didn't come down with it. But here they give you kind of like a red zone cover 2 look, and they drop out, as you see, their edge defender. So they only bring 3 rushers. Now, what's unfortunate about this, when a team brings 3 rushers, they shouldn't have immediate pressure. If they do, it's a disaster for an offense. And in this case, against that rookie, Colby Sorstel loses this matchup. And you could see, kind of shoots his hands, but he shoots it at like a weird time when the defender seemingly was going into his spin on this play, so he wasn't able to get clean contact at all, and then he's off balance, he's beat inside, and all of a sudden, Goff's got to take off immediately. But I think the play design, if this holds up, would have probably absolutely been there, and on top of this, he still had a chance, but it just did not happen off schedule, of course. So you get that free rusher, but if you notice, look what the Lions are doing. I think this ball was designed to go to Donovan Peoples-Jones. I love, by the way, that we're using Peoples-Jones in red zone situations. Again, I'm fine with him just being that guy, because his route tree suits a lot better inside the 10 than Jameson Williams, right? You can use him for more of those things. I know we haven't seen it yet, but his route tree fits better. And you see an example like this. Now, what stands out to me is this. So if they're going into this red zone cover 2 look, you see it right here. St. Brown is going to kind of sit down in this window right here, and he's going to pull that safety down with him. Now, on this play, Goff could have tried to go to that pass, and maybe he was, but if you notice, there's another underneath defender on this play, and because of that, there's not really a window here. So what happens is when we see it on TV, it actually looks like he was going to St. Brown because St. Brown opens up late. But based on when Goff seemingly was throwing this pass, I think he was trying to hit Donovan Peoples-Jones. I would have actually been there. St. Brown pulls the safety. safety. We've seen that a lot. And then you run the dig right behind that safety. Now, all of a sudden, you have no, deep threat. You have nobody in the back of the end zone that can help you in coverage because Josh Reynolds sits down, takes their other underneath zone linebacker. So now the only guy you have to worry about is the backside safety. And as you see on this play, it looked like, he kind of ran through when Goff was maybe hoping he would sit down, and it went behind him because of that. You could see he was kind of like, dang. I think that may have been the case. It could have also been the ball didn't come out right. That's a hard throw to make, rolling one way and kind of throwing that with pressure. Obviously, it wasn't a great throw. If he was trying to go to the Saint, obviously he just threw it too high. So I think it was a couple of both, but I think more so than anything, the play design was good there, and that's always a positive when you feel like you have answers. I think that's always a positive, especially against a coverage unit like this that can absolutely take the ball away. How about Josh Paschal? One thing Josh Paschal's been, and I want to say two things here. I don't want to just give Josh Paschal love. I want to give John Kaminsky love. We don't have any clips, but I want to say about John Kaminsky is this. Kaminsky's energy, which we kind of knew of him when we added him. Like, we kind of knew, like, he was the energy guy we saw last year. And I understand maybe not have as much splash plays so far this year, but the energy is still the same. Even with, I think he has less reps this year, the energy is still there. And I love that from him. So there was a play where they got a one-on-one with Jacobs. They ran the out route, completed the play. But John Kaminsky runs all the way to that sideline, right, away from the play to give Jerry Jacobs a high five. You have a play like that. I love that. And I think Jerry made a good play the very next play, which was, he got in on the run tackle. Derek Barnes made the tackle. We get off the field. So you love that energy, but then also he made not game-saving. He made essentially a touchdown-saving tackle where Taysom Hill broke free, got to midfield, and John Kaminsky ran him down. If he doesn't do that, they may score a touchdown there. Instead, he trips him up. All of a sudden, we get a stop after that. We force them to punt. He took points off the board, and if anything, they would have been in field goal range. John Kaminsky's effort plays, I love that the energy is still there. But here is Josh Paschal, who's been very good against the run these last few weeks, and you're seeing him build on that, which is very promising for the future. And also, I will throw this out there, he's been getting a little bit more interior reps that aren't just on passing downs. He's been taking some snaps on the interior. All right, he's not like your typical build for a 3 technique or a defensive tackle in this defensive scheme, but it's something to kind of keep an eye on because he opens up that flexibility a little bit where if it's like a 2nd and 11. Maybe we kick him inside. Because if he can handle his business against the run, we're expecting a pass. He can give us more pressure from the interior. We like him better there. I like him better there, at least personally. But here against the run, similar look. They're going to slant inside, boom. But what I like about Josh Paschal here is he doesn't just slant inside that left tackle. He also jumps in front of the left guard. Now, it's very crucial that he makes a stop, okay, because now Jack Campbell's blocked up. Now, again, the run support was there. Safeties came down on the play. They were aggressive to play the run. But Josh Paschal was willing to step in front of both offensive linemen, get in the backfield, and make a tackle for loss, going beyond the X and O's, to me, is the example there. And Josh Paschal has now shown that for a few weeks here, some of that run defense that's really stood out. Again, another zone read look here from the offense. Lions get a good stop. This time, you got Aiden Hutchinson kind of in a mix, crashes down in the line, but stays balanced, reads it, gets to the edge, fights in front of the tight end, which was massive, because if he gets caught behind the tight end, now you get a one-on-one with that corner. But also, at the same time, Tracy Walker, the discipline from the safety, right? He's not jumping inside with that run fake. He reads it, doesn't go out of his way, doesn't do too much, stays home on the play. Then he's able to step in front of the receiver block. Now he's able to dive down, take away that inside rushing lane. So all of a sudden you're running right back into Tracy. Tracy had a really good game, and I know I didn't really point that out Monday, but after seeing it back on the L22, I was like, yo, I got to give this man some love because he played his butt off in this game. This was a really strong game from him. Now, what I like about this play, I should have put the other play in here because I would have been able to give more context to it, but the play before, we try to run kind of a quick little drag route here from our tight end. They take everything away. They go quarters defensively, take everything away. That's the play where Goff kind of steps up the pocket, tries to hit LaPorta late, it's incomplete. By the way, I love the fact that he went to him late, like just doing a little bit beyond, again, the X and O's, like trying to find him late in the play and not just have it be nothing. I thought that was pretty awesome, and he gave him a real chance. Like, the ball could have absolutely been caught. It was contested, but it could have been caught. But here, the very next play, again, we talked about these linebackers. Lions had to find creative ways, right? They had to dig a little deep here to make this thing work, and leave it to Ben Johnson to do that. He'll figure it out. This is a great example. Instead of doing the drag, they run the beneath route, and they hold the linebacker, so watch how they do it. So, they're going to run a beneath route, but this tight end is not going to run just immediately into the flat. Instead, beneath meaning run behind the line of scrimmage, he's going to show a split zone block here. Watch this. So he shows that he's going to block the edge. Bam. Then he doesn't. Then he leaks out into the flat. Now, you tie that with the zone fake, which, of course, really sells this play because that's usually a run design play. Now, watch these two guys. So you have two guys, Josh Reynolds in the slot, LaPorta at the tight end position. Both of these guys are going to hold everybody inside right here. So you got a corner, you got both corners rolled down on this play. So first off, you have Josh Reynolds, who's essentially just going to kind of run inside, like almost like he's going to try to set up and block. Now also you have Sam LaPorta, who's going to run like a really late and delayed kind of like whip route on this play, right? He's going to open himself up, but you keep all that stuff congested on one side, then you run it beneath the line of scrimmage with the run fake, you hold everybody inside, you get an wide open Brock Wright, plus it's Brock Wright, not Sam LaPorta, and usually, you don't really expect that guy. So I thought that was cool. Now again, another lost block here. Here this time, it's Malcolm Roach, so again, Malcolm Roach is a dog. But at the same time, it is a little bit cause of concern. Here, Colby Sorstel, you love it. You love the athleticism. You know that's there. You don't question it. Watch how fast he gets at the ball. Bam, he's in position. But then he starts to kind of overextend here. Doesn't really get a good shot on the defensive tackle. Unbalanced, loses the block. Now all of a sudden you shut down this run play. Jameer Gibbs. I know I pointed this out on Monday, but it just looks even cooler like this. I didn't even put his big run play in here. But Jameer Gibbs, man, shows some wow, I think, with some of these inside rushes here. And what I like about this one was Sam LaPorta. We talk all this about Sam LaPorta and his receiving ability, which is amazing. But at the same time, the flexibility for him to step in like a tight end and play fullback in this game with Malcolm Rodriguez playing more so defensively and then do things like this. Not to say it was perfect, but the willingness and the FBI to do this is awesome. So watch this, right? They've been giving a lot of kind of split looks from that tight end position where they'll crash down on the backside. So here from this fullback position, watch this. They slant inside Kalen Sanders, I think that's how you pronounce his name. They slant inside Sanders, the defensive tackle here. Now, because of that, Graham Glasgow doesn't get the block, so now he tries to seal it off. But with him getting immediately into the backfield, Sam LaPorta doesn't crash down or try to work onto this backside edge rusher or work upfield. He recognizes it right here, and he steps in, bam, picks up that block. Doesn't allow Gibbs to take an immediate tackle for loss. Gives him an opportunity to break into the second level because of Sam LaPorta's recognition on this play. Now, on top of that here, then Jameer Gibbs just does some awesomeness. Now, you're going to see on the backside, their 3 technique is the guy that's actually going to make this stop here. Jonah Jackson really doesn't give a lot of support for Taylor Decker here to help him on Shepard, so he's able to scrape across.
The Lions lose a lot of offensive line traffic once that block goes by Graham Glasgow and he has to step back. Now you lose that flow and all of a sudden it's a clear path.
Jameer Gibbs makes a miss, and this is where Jameer Gibbs was impressive as heck to me because it's his ability to get skinny. Watch what he does to number 93 Shepard. Watch what he does to his balance as a tackler. Watch this. You can see Nefi Sewell kind of gets in front of Colby Sorstel on this play. So he's not able to bounce outside. So right here, boom. Instead of being able to follow through that block, he sees him get outside of the play, so now he wants to fill back inside. Now, he sees Shepard on this play. So watch how he plays this. He starts to kind of slow himself down. And once he does that, Shepard stops moving his feet. He gets flat-footed, and he launches. Because of that, and then Gibbs is able to keep his feet moving and then take off again. Now we're talking about a guy that's moving his feet, being able to get skinny, and a guy like Shepard who has no foundation. He's just launching on the play. He can't make a clean tackle. So watch it here again. Watch this. Feels it on the outside, starts to kind of stutter right here. Watch Shepard. He kind of loses balance, starts to kind of try to stop himself to mash the running back. Then at that point, Gibbs, because of his nasty explosiveness, he's able to take off again. And once he takes off again, Shepard's not in a position to really stick with it. Now he's kind of skinny on the play. He gets a hit on him, but there's no force to his tackle anymore. And it's about that immediate burst where Gibbs is able to take off, pick up 7. I thought that was a whoa type of run because it showed some of that ability that he had, and I think that was a better way to showcase it. Again, creativity. This is a reverse touchdown. Lions went even further on this one. Let's pull the offensive lineman. Let's try to get Nefi Sewell to follow that direction. We'll run the run fake the opposite way.
Safety crashed down to fill the open run lane of the running back, but also notice this is basically a setup off of the end around they had ran. So they're giving you all the end around look like they had just ran earlier, and then they just add a little bit more to it and say, you know what? Let's also make this a reverse. Let's add one more little toss back in this.
Then they're in man coverage, so now everybody's got to follow across. So now you get a one-on-one with Alontae Taylor, but guess what? Graham Glasgow is out there to pick up the block. Here he is at center. And really, I would give a lot of credit here to Penei Sewell. This is where he's ridiculous. All right, he'll lose some blocks, but he's incredibly powerful for a right tackle. And here, oh my gosh, like that's what he down blocks. He just lights people up. This is an example that just lit the man up. So now Graham Glasgow's free on the play to just shoot up to the second level, and because of that, now Alontae Taylor is blocked. And you walk him into the end zone. So, we see you, Penei Sewell, Romeo Okwara, and Brian Branch. What I like about Romeo is him fighting through the tight end. Look, they kind of doubled this thing up. Fights through the tight end. Make sure he gets inside on this play to get the cutback lane shut off. But also, Brian Branch steps in front of the receiver, doesn't allow Olave to step in front and get that block. Boom, you can see it right before the snap, steps in front. Bam. Now, all of a sudden, Branch is in there like a linebacker making a play. This is where I want to give Jalen credit. Now, I'm going to give you guys a theory, all right? This is something I've been thinking about. And I'm not saying Jack Campbell's there right now, but it's just a theory. We questioned a linebacker pick. Oh, we took a linebacker, right? I wasn't expecting it. Now, we've talked all about that, so I don't want to go back down that road. But here's an idea, just something I was thinking of. So when I was preparing to do my Sam LaPorta video and talking about how important that tight end position is, why we're seeing more 12 personnel, Lions on first down, 10th in the league, 31% of the time running 12 personnel this season. It's shot up a lot from the last 2 years where, from beyond 10%. It shot up a lot. And in the past, we've seen a lot of 11 personnel, right? 3 receivers, 1 tight end. But we've started to see certain teams that can have that effective tight end utilize multiple tight ends, whether that's, simplifying coverage, early down looks, forcing defense to match personnel, and then getting matches for yourself offensively. Another aspect is this. Across the league, not to say that this game specifically in particular for the Lions defense, but across the league, what are we seeing? We're seeing more zone coverage than ever before, basically, from every team. A ton of zone coverage. Basically, now, zone coverage is ran about 70% of the time in the NFL. So there's that aspect. Now, we can go into packages that defenses play. They basically sub-packages your base down. So if you can put multiple tight ends on the field, you get matchups.
And I think what's really interesting is historically, rushing the football out of 12 personnel didn't work well. So defenses would put linebackers to match your tight ends. Usually they played the run better than your tight ends would run block. However, if you have enough of a receiving threat at tight end, now the defense has to make that decision. If you're going to lean into pass with the tight ends, can my linebackers even match the tight ends? Because if they can't, I got to put safeties. Now you should like your matchup if your tight end is even just serviceable as a run blocker. So now it comes back to the point of now you need that versatile linebacker to not only be able to play the run, but specifically, can he match up with the tight end?
But we see a ton of zone coverage. We're also seeing a lot of 2 high shell safeties. And because of that, every year we've seen the yards per attempt drop. Every single year for like the last 10, 15 years, yards per attempt has dropped. I think that was quoted like Sharp Stats. And because of that, now we're seeing the impact of guys like tight end that can make a living there, that can win underneath, do things after the catch. But I think what's important about that, because you can play, cover, you can play zone coverage with single high or 2 high, but the fact that they're playing more 2 high and yards per attempt is going down, I think about the addition of Jack Campbell, what he is specifically in zone coverage, what the Lions are excited to think about with growth there, is that those guys also, I think in a sense, become more and more amplified in terms of importance, because now those are the guys that have to be impactful in pass lanes. And I'm looking back at a play in this game that we talked about on Monday where he was unable to get his hands on the football because I thought he bit against the play action too hard, but I didn't even think he bit that hard on the play action. It was more so about he kind of stumbled out of it, but he nearly got his hands on a play that he probably should have no business being involved in because of his length and also his ability to drop into that zone coverage, flip his hips. However, now you think about those stats, you think about the importance of that linebacker position. We know the Lions have played a lot more zone this season. How now recently we started to see a lot more man, which I think has honestly worked for us. That's why we've done it, because we've just been better in man coverage. I mean, just simply as that. I mean, we've just been a better team these last couple weeks in man coverage. We were better against Green Bay, and it helped us out. Especially for teams that are trying not to take tacks and just trying to get the ball out a lot quicker, man coverage has helped us out. But I think because of that, when you look at a wide view of like the addition of a linebacker, I think you can understand that, okay, maybe that was kind of like, it helps us now, but where this league is going to currently, it might make sense to have a guy that can be that impactful in coverage, especially, if you just look at our division or you look at the teams that utilize kind of like the, the mobile quarterback, the read option like we see in this game. And again, I don't think Jack Campbell was great there. I think he needs to be better at getting off blocks, right? We were hoping that was something that he'd be really good in the NFL. I haven't seen that consistently. You'll get flashes, but it's not good enough right now. His hands, I think those things have to improve, but at the same time, he doesn't have the best length either. But at the same time, with his height, it helps him in coverage. I think it's something that's interesting. It's a theory of mine that beyond just taking linebacker, also for where the NFL is kind of seemingly going and where it is kind of in its current state, that linebacker position within the next few years may continue to be amplified, and all of a sudden that value becomes very important as he continues to learn and pick up the game, become comfortable as an off-ball linebacker.
Top of that, we also know with teams with mobile quarterbacks using that as a rushing threat, they're going to put those guys in the action. So football intelligence has to be on point, communication, because of all the layered routes and rushing quarterbacks and options laterally. You have to be on point that way as well. But I think, again, with the size, the ability to affect passing lanes in some of those underneath zone looks is where I really focus on Campbell.
But I'll talk about a guy that is comfortable as an off-ball linebacker. How about Jalen Reese-Maybin? This is why I was like, this guy's got to get snaps because he's not breaking down in coverage and he's doing things like this. Lions are going to bring Brian Branch off the edge here. They're going to bring a slot blitz. Now, Jamal picks him up. Great block here. But what the Lions are also going to do is disguise. They're going to drop into a Tampa 2 look defensively with Jalen Reese-Maybin as the middle field backer. Now, notice the recognition here. It's a balanced look, 2x2 on both sides. Now, to the field side, outside, he's going to open first on the play. But once it gets past, kind of Derek Barnes here and it starts to work into this vertical range of the safety, he all of a sudden shifts his attention, opens his hips, reads the quarterback's eyes, and takes away where he wants to go with the football. Open up to the field side. Now read the quarterback's eyes right there as it passes Derek Barnes, gets off to the safety, flips open, steps in front here of where he wants to go with this pass underneath. So now he takes that away. Now Derek Carr looks over top. Now Jalen Reed kind of stumbles trying to get back to that, but he tried to open himself back up. But he took away read one. That's the key. It's take away the first read. He took away the first read here. Now the second read was, okay, let's get over top here. But with Jalen Reed opening up, because Tracy ran his way over top and actually covered that thing up pretty darn well, so he took that away. And then Romeo Okoro works through 2 blocks. But Jalen Reed was on point, and I think that's a really good example of it right there. Now let's continue with the defensive side of the ball. The only reason I show this is just because, man, this drive, the roughing the call, this should have been an interception. The Lions go into quarters coverage here. This should have been an interception. Brian Branch obviously tipped it, but Jerry was standing there for a pick. Watch this. So Brian Branch tips it, which is good enough. Like, let's get off the field. But Jerry Jacobs also read this, right? They run kind of the corner post here, and he steps down in front of it to intercept this thing. He was lined up to pick this ball off, but it got tipped up, and things sometimes just work out very unfortunately, and that would be an example of that happening. However, the Lions still got off the field, and this is where, again, Tracy was impressive. These last 2 plays, I want you to focus on Tracy Walker. Watch him here. Here he is on Alvin Kamara. Now, early in the game, we saw him step to the outside, got beat inside. Now he's anticipating that. Watch this. Watch him not get brought outside here by this route. He sees the release towards the outside, but he's disciplined. He sits inside, stays inside here. Also, notice the Lions aren't rubbing into each other. We had that happen once. It probably should have been called a pick play, but we know Branch, like, they have a pretty good feel of route depth against man coverage. We've seen that. We haven't seen as many clear pick plays against us. We've had them at times. We've had it with Jerry, but a guy like Branch has done those things really well. However, Tracy stays inside here, doesn't get floated outside and allow this easy inside break. He steps inside, keeps his leverage. Now all of a sudden he makes it a difficult throw and catch for the running back Alvin Kamara. So it's a good adjustment to what happened earlier. Also, you get a little pressure in the inside. Then on the final play of the game, watch Tracy, because we didn't see this. We see Branch, but watch Tracy on this play. Fast he communicates this. He sees that inside slot, release outside, boom, right there. Communicates with Cam Sutton and dives down underneath. Now all of a sudden, Jameis Winston can't go there. So when the Lions go cover 1 blitz like this, they blitz everybody and they have 1 deep safety to help over top. Everybody else is manned up. Now all of a sudden, you take away his first look. Now he has to go somewhere else because you expect pressure when you bring 6. And it was there from Derek Barnes. And it got on his throwing arm. But at the same time, Tracy Walker right here to read that, communicate with Cam, dive down, take that away. Now the drag's not there. Now the middle field route's not there with the safety. Now you have one last option because you're already looking that direction. So it'll be hard to flip around and go opposite of it. Plus you're running a vertical route and it was covered up well by Jerry on this play on the bottom of your screen. So now all of a sudden you have one option. It's try to go one-on-one with Branch on Olave. And like I said, I love that matchup. But because you take away the first read, now all of a sudden you get pressure because you bring 6. So you're not giving him the easy completion. Now he's got to get the ball out before he wants to. And because of that, you can see some contact at the top of the route here. And you can see he's separated a little bit. But now the ball's behind him. There's a little bit of a stumble at the top of the route. Passes incomplete. Lions get off the field. And to me, I think what Tracy Walker was able to do there was pretty darn awesome. And I wanted to point that out. Got my notes from this one. Another guy that I'll point out was Melk Rodriguez. I mean, look, it wasn't perfect against the run. There were times where it was like, okay, maybe he missed a little bit there. But what always impressed me with Malcolm is he doesn't have the body type of guy that you think would stack shed linebackers. Yet somehow he a lot of times looks like our best linebacker at doing that. He was really good at Oklahoma State. We know he's super strong. He's also very kind of slithery. He, again, in this game, there's a lot of plays where you're like, he's getting off the blocks. He's the guy doing it. Now, Derek Barnes, while I said, there were breakdown plays in here, right at the cover 4, look, we're underneath. He carries the running back, so does Jalen, guys wide open. There's things like that. Derek Barnes did play the run really well. He played with his hair on fire. There's a lot of things I like about Derek Barnes. Obviously, he's giving us some pass rush now as well off the edge, which is awesome. But Melk Rodriguez, man, it's not perfect, but he's able to step in and handle blocks just like a guy should not be able to at his size. We talked about LaPorta. I talked about Tracy Walker. I think there are some slight concerns on the interior. Obviously, Colby Stores haven't been perfect this year. I thought there was some upside in this last game as a run blocker in particular. It's going to have to be good against Chicago. They don't get a ton of pressure, but all of a sudden, if you're getting dominated in the interior and that becomes a thing that they are doing, now you have a lot of issues because their back end is pretty strong. So, we need those guys to step up this week. Jonah Jackson is the guy I would circle because I don't think he played great against New Orleans. We need him to be a dominant Jonah Jackson. I mean, just simply be a dominant Jonah Jackson. We know it's a contract year. I'm not going to get to the extension talk right now, but I'll just say this. We need to see a dominant game from Jonah, and I think this is a great opportunity to do that if Frank Ragnow does not play. With that being said, man, I'm going to leave it right there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, Prop, for watching, and I'm